All right, welcome back. It's that time of year. It's getting cold out. Basketball is on the horizon, and we're going to talk about some rookies today. All right, Peyton had Victor Wembanyama, so how about he get it started for us?
So yeah, guys, I took this Victor Wembanyama guy to talk about. You guys probably haven't heard of him. He was kind of an obscure player coming into the draft. He was picked number one by the Spurs. Shocked a lot of people. So that's what I'm gonna talk about. But first things first, when I was researching him, I actually found out that he is not a human being. He is just this thing that broke out of Area 51, escaped to France, and decided to play basketball. So if you're wondering why he looks like that, that's why. But for real, he's like one of the best prospects that we've ever had. Some people were even saying he was better than LeBron James, which I don't think I personally agree with that, but
Prospect
I
wise,
can see why
maybe.
people say it. Because the thing with him is he is 7'4" and can move like a guard. And that was really on display in his summer league game against Chet, where I
Yeah.
mean that dude was flying around screens like a guard would, pulling up from three, and he was splashing them.
Did you see the layup he had where he adjusted
Mm-hmm.
mid-air and brought it
It's
down and around the
ridiculous.
dude?
Is that where he flexed on Chet?
Like
No, that's when he headbutt him.
Remember
like
when he
that's
flexed on him?
just
I saw some memes
crazy.
on Twitter where, or sorry, X, where he had like the SpongeBob muscles when it's just bone.
Yeah, Victor Wembanyama is going to come into the league and immediately have the most unstoppable move, the spinning headbutt going to the rim.
I do have to say, I think with him and Chet, that battle, I think after watching it, Chet's gonna, in my opinion, has more chance at rookie of the year just because he gets more rebounds. He's on a better team.
Dog, it's gonna be someone like Scoot or something. It's not gonna be one of
Well,
those two.
I think it's
of course
between
it's gonna
those
be Scoot.
three because that's the big thing with Wemby is since everybody has such high expectations for him, it's kind of like if he doesn't win rookie of the year, people are probably just going to slander him, which is terrible. But I really hope him and Chet do kind of like form some sort of rivalry since they're both tall, skinny boys.
Y'all two used to hate Chet. Remember, Cody? They were the biggest
I
haters.
did not like him when he was playing in college.
No, he took away Timmy's touches.
Timmy was just the superior player. Timmy's on the Bucks now, isn't he?
Yeah.
Made
Why'd
a
no one pick
two-way,
him?
two-way deal.
I do need to speak on Gonzaga quickly as for the fans, I went there this past weekend. Gonzaga fans hate Purdue. I did not realize that.
Really?
Yeah, there was
Why?
either when I was getting introduced to people by one of my friends, it was either, oh, hi, nice to meet you, or F you. And I was just like, whoa, whoa, whoa.
They mad that we don't have to pay all that tuition to get
They're
better
mad we beat him
education.
last year.
They're mad that Edie better than Timmy.
They mad they on the
Edie
West
is just
Coast. Ugh,
the
That's
next
just
Wemby.
that's one of those things that like it's
living
a
rent
one-way
free.
rivalry.
Yeah, we do not care.
Like, I kind of like watching Gonzaga because I liked Timmy when he was playing.
Yeah, don't hate
He
Yeah,
reminded
Gonzaga.
me
They
of
hate us.
Sabonis.
Bet Mark Few would be a fun guy to go get some drinks with. Just don't give
Ooh,
him his keys.
same with the Cavs GM or president or whatever.
Anyways, back to Wemby. He's probably going to be the starting power forward since Pop said Zach Collins is going to start. I think they've
hmm
announced that.
yeah.
But like that front court defense with the two of them is it's going to be nasty. Like I know a lot of people are saying Wemby's going to come in and like the Spurs are probably still going to be one of the worst teams in the league, but I feel like he's immediately going to elevate the Spurs defense just by like him existing in the paint.
Yeah.
Because what he has an 8 foot wingspan.
More than that, I'm probably.
Like you are not going to want to be in the paint with Wemby near.
Hey, unless you are Scoot Henderson and scored 32 on him. And that one,
Yes, sir.
what was that game when they played each other?
Or
It's like
unless you're Kai Jones.
yeah, it
Kai
is.
Jones
Kai
It
posted
is.
Jones
him.
dunked on him and then
Yeah,
it went to his head.
it's an 8 foot wingspan estimated. It's never been
Hmm.
measured, so
Yeah,
it's
he didn't
just
go to the
estimated.
That
combine.
made me mad he didn't go to the combine. I was excited to see all of his official
Well,
measurements.
wasn't
He was
it?
playing in France.
Wasn't there a rumor that he didn't want to go because he was going to be measured at like taller than what like says he is,
He
and
didn't
he
want
was
to be a
worried it
power
would hurt his
I
forward.
think
stock.
so, yeah.
So he's 7'3", with an 8-foot wingspan.
Mhm.
For reference, Zach Edey is 7'4" and has a 7'10" wingspan. So
He
he has
looked
a lot
taller than Zach
bigger
though when they stood.
wingspan than Zach Edey. But
Like
it's
I know
actually
Edie
a
said
little.
he was slouching in that picture, but I don't know that I believe it.
That was
Like
also an
Wemby
aged
seemed a lot
picture.
taller. That's true.
I think he just like the same height or an inch taller is what I thought. But
Did
I
you
don't
hear
know.
they said Wemby put on 20 pounds of muscle
So
for
did,
preseason?
someone else did. I don't remember.
You can't really tell with Wemby, but
Yeah, I mean, but it just
No.
may that'll prevent injuries
I
since
think
he's so
Jalen
skinny.
Smith did.
his probably wasn't muscle. His was probably cheeseburgers.
Jalen Smith's very low body fat.
He'll
Bro,
need that when we trade him to the Heat.
we're never gonna do business with the Heat, dog. We're not giving out
Nobody is
charity
anymore.
We're not giving out charity. They don't have nothing.
They have Josh Richardson.
Screw that.
That's all they need.
We'll take Bam.
That's
Maybe.
too much.
Yeah, for us, we're not getting enough back.
The big thing with Wemby and whether or not he's going to win Rookie of the Year, it's probably all going to be on whether or not he plays the 65 games to qualify.
Yeah, that was
Because I
gonna
think
be
even if he gets there just based off hype, they'll probably give it to him, even if Chet or
Right.
Scoot like statistically have a better
well,
season.
that was gonna be my question is, I feel like as with anybody like that, it's gonna come down to durability and health as to how
Chet's
good
not
of a
an Iron
career
Man.
you have. Like, there's been a
Well-
lot of careers derailed by injury. And
And
even
just
some
with
people,
his frame and with him moving around like how he does, even though he has his like crazy warm up routine, I think it's still a valid concern.
How interested do you think the Spurs will be with tanking this year? Because that'll be determined sitting him. Because the draft picks, like the top ones, aren't guards, and I feel like they just need a point guard to be a floor general.
I don't think they should tank this year. It's not a great draft class. Like, nah, I would have them try to get him some reps.
I don't think they're going to tank, but I think just because the league's so talented that they're probably still going to be like at the bottom.
They have enough assets to make a big trade if some star is disgruntled.
A lot of people are talking about Keldon Johnson and whether or not they'd go ahead and trade him, our boy Kelton John, because basically that's what they did with DeJounte Murray.
Jonte
Right.
was a little more of a head case, though. I think they just don't want to deal with his stuff anymore.
Yeah, but they just sold him
Jackson.
while his price was still
Stock was
super
high.
high.
Keldon
I mean,
Johnson's good though.
Because they have Devin Vassell too, who they just gave the bag to, and they're similar.
You just can't keep flipping young players like this. Eventually, you gotta make a core.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
And there's like no generational talent anymore. I think you have your guy. Might as well start building around him. Like they traded Jonte so they could tank to get Wembanyama, and it worked.
It still makes me mad that they got Victor. Like they do not deserve
It
nice
was
things. They
destiny.
had nice things.
At least it wasn't Charlotte.
That's
True.
true.
He would have ended up in a gang and then would have shot his wife or something.
God.
He would have gone down the Kai Jones route.
Kai Jones.
Guys, we got to
himself
save
the
the Charlotte
goat.
talk until the end. Don't use all the good material.
Miles Bridges.
All right.
Brandon
the Fortnite
Miller.
guy. What's the Fortnite guy? James Fort Book Knight.
James Fortnite.
Yeah.
Oh, you're talking about a Knox for a sec.
No.
Isn't he on the Blazers still?
Yeah.
Knox,
No,
yeah,
they got rid
he's
of,
actually gonna
Watford.
he's actually gonna make the roster, I think, because he's
Hmm.
fighting for it. But we had him at media day, so
It's funny.
No.
All right,
All right.
so who wants to go next?
You should talk about Scoot. We brought him up already.
yeah,
That's true.
So, all right, well, I drafted Scoot, the number 2 overall pick. It was a big question with would Dame be there or not, and now we have our answer. So that makes a path for Scoot to become the starting point guard and get kind of the keys to the franchise. Based off of his style of play, I think it'll fit well with Chauncey and his coaching, where he wants to push the pace. I mean, we all know he's built like a freaking linebacker, and one of his main stats that I saw from the G League was he's a very high pace player. It's a 102.17 pace, and that's what Chauncey said he wants to do.
I mean, what was that Robert Williams quote?
He's fast as
Oh,
F.
yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
I
I
trust
think-
Rob.
I think it'll be interesting to see the way he changes like Portland's play style. You know, it's been 11 years of a ISO ball around Dame.
Gross.
What do you say?
So that's gross. I don't like ISO ball.
Yeah, and so I think that it'll be interesting to see it could be a much faster paced offense. And Scoot sounds like he's intense. He's got kind of the dog mentality. He wants to get down and play defense and then move the ball. I mean, he had 6 assists in 19 minutes last night in their preseason game. So I mean that's pretty good for a rookie point guard.
If you can get Ayton to play defense, he'd be set.
I think
that'll be-
Carroll's entire offense is going to be just 8 post ups every single
Oh.
possession.
Ayton post up from Scoot's pass, inlet pass.
Scoot can just farm assists.
Cool.
I was very interested in, you know, big question of Scoot is his 3-point shooting. Like that's his like main knock. And Chauncey Billups has said that Scoot doesn't, you know, he doesn't always hit him, but he does not have confidence. Like as soon as he gets the ball, if he's open, that thing's flying. And his first 3 of the night in the first quarter last night, he just fired that thing and drained it. So, and it
He's
looked
getting-
good.
Yeah, I thought you couldn't watch. I thought it was radio.
I saw highlights. They had like the whole broadcast set up. Like they had the cutaway cameras, everything. They just wouldn't air it.
It's just weird, but he is being mentored by Steph Curry. So if anyone's gonna fix his jumper, it's Steph Curry.
Yeah, Steph's got him
Mhm.
shooting right.
And I
It
think
is nice though. Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say,
I
well,
was gonna
Buddy
say
Hield's
also
good.
with the Steph Curry thing, being under Simons for a little bit could help. I mean, Simons is like a mini Dame.
That's true. It is nice that as soon as you all moved on from like arguably the greatest player in your franchise, that you immediately have Scoot sitting there ready to become like the next focal point.
Yeah,
Like that is a luxury that not a lot of franchises have.
right. It'd have been nice if you could have had him, like go work behind Dame for a year, let him get that experience and see the in and outs of a year under Dame, but
Shaden did that.
also it's not, it's nice to still have, nice to have him no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we went through
Plus-
purgatory after Paul George, so that kind of sucked. I mean, Vic was really good for about
I
a
was
year
gonna
and a
say,
half.
we had like a season and a
but-
half until Vic's knees gave out.
After that,
So now we got Reese.
It was pretty
Reese
much-
is like what you want after getting rid of like a Paul George player. It just took us some extra steps.
Yeah, it just took Vic's knees blowing out and
Sabonis getting
Sabonis
All-Star.
becoming good. Yeah, he was good, but people finally recognizing.
It honestly made me super angry when Sabonis went to the Kings, and then all of a sudden everyone's like, "Man, Sabonis is really good. That's crazy."
Yeah,
Because he was the exact same on the Pacers.
That
It's just
Roy
no one was
Hibbert
watching.
quote will always be true.
to be fair, they were winning.
It's me,
but
Roy.
we weren't.
Hibbert.
We weren't winning.
We had
I mean, yeah,
we
but
had a winning season every year, except the last 2. Every year we had Sabonis, we had a winning
when I
record
watched.
and we're in the playoffs.
2 years we weren't in the playoffs, and that's when I feel like he was really good.
I think it's my fault. As soon as I started watching, the Pacers were garbage.
And he didn't play in the playoffs in the bubble
We did
either.
destroy the
Not
Hornets
gonna
in the
be
play-in,
garbage.
though.
Us.
That was because of Dougie McBuckets and O'Shea
Dougie McThunderbuckets.
and Goga. Goga had a
Gone but not
double-double.
forgotten. Dude, Wemby's playing with Dougie now.
Yeah, he
Lucky
is.
man.
They're
Oh,
gonna
those
trade Doug.
Wemby, the Wemby Sabonis handoffs with Dougie.
You mean it's gonna be opposite. Dougie's gonna be setting the screens.
Yeah, when they'll do a whole good old fashioned screen the screener. You'll think Doug McDermott's coming off the screen and then he'll just set another
Oh.
screen for Wimby. Nate McMillan loved that play with
Inject
Doug
it into my
McDermott,
veins.
and other shooter, insert whichever one you want. And
Oh, yeah.
they'd run that play under the basket where you'd think one of them's coming off the screen and then they just set a screen for the other one to come off another flare down on the other side. Nate McMillan loved that play.
Nate McFired
Yeah.
Again.
again.
Tucker, do you think Scoot has a good shot of being rookie of the year? Because I know we already talked about Wemby, but do you think do you think he has a better chance than Chet or a worse chance than Chet?
I think it's tough to say with Chet. I think they're roughly the same right now because they're both going to start, and Chet's going to be on a better team.
Yeah, the Thunder have
It'll
a
just-
lot of hype right now.
Yeah, it'll just depend on how well Scoot adapts to the league. Because normally, rookie point guards can struggle, but from what it sounds like, is since Scoot went to the G League for 2 years, he's like ready. And a lot of times they can struggle defensively. But I forgot to mention some Scoot trivia about defense. He's 6'2", but he's got a 6'9" wingspan, and when they measured his hands are the same size as Kawhi Leonard. So
Good
Wow.
lord.
that's if he's ready, like he's got the body to handle it.
He's girthy.
Scoot does have a ridiculous body, no homo. But like he has the body of like a 25-year-old man, and he's still technically a teenager.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's
I need
ridiculous.
him to get Shaden Sharp in the gym.
Bilal Coulibaly is going to win Rookie of the Year.
Oh,
Every
the
time
G
we
League
trade
Rookie of the
every,
Year.
every time we trade a pick, telling you, he's going to become an all-star.
Did anybody
But-
pick him or no?
No, I don't care.
No.
now.
Rip. I
The
remember his
reports
stat
are
line
he-
from preseason was all right.
He had some really
Oh,
good
did he
defensive
play?
numbers. I can pull him up real quick.
Yeah, I
but
mean,
I was
he's a-
impressed.
He
He had a
was
probably
decent
drafted,
all-around game.
he was drafted as a defensive player and the offense needs work, basically.
Yeah.
They will need defense with Jordan Poole being your best player. Well, you could argue Kuzma.
I was gonna
Oh,
say a lot of Kyle
points
Kuzma
still.
disrespect.
He had 5.6 assists. 6 rebounds, 3 assists, 3 steals, and a block
Oh, damn.
in 20 minutes.
Decent little stat line.
Jarris better.
I mean, yeah,
True.
Jarris played really well that first game.
Kyle Kuzma better.
The second game was kind of mid.
That's probably a good transition, Jackson, if you want to talk about Jarris.
I honestly think he's going to take the starting spot over Obi Toppin by the end of the year. I'm calling that. That's going to be my hot
Really?
take. He's
That'd
just, if he's
be
shooting
earlier
like
than
he can
that.
shoot, and well, yeah, I can tell you that, but just if he's shooting, like he can shoot, I think he's going to be a really good log threat for Tyrese, and Obi Toppin's a lob threat. And I just think Obi Toppin just isn't a great defender, and I don't think he can run with the starting unit after, like, if we're really good. If we're not very good, I guess Obi Toppin might stay in there just because of chemistry. But like if we're fighting for that play-in playoff spot, I think we might prioritize defense. Just like Buddy Hield's coming off the bench because his thing's scoring and he can't defend worth a lick. But Jarris is just a really good defender. In preseason, it looked like he could guard some guards. I mean, some of them are too quick for him, but he's good at poking the ball free and getting them help defense blocks and things like that. And he's a little smaller, but I like how he can play defense, and he has a pretty long wingspan. I think it's around 7'3" for his height. And in the first preseason game, he looked really good. He shot like 4 of 7 from 3. But he played a little more off ball, which I think he played a lot better at. And then last night's game, he was really inefficient, but he was like more handling the ball and taking jump shots and stuff. And that's not his game as much. You know,
Yeah. I really like his passing vision.
he does
Um,
have the vision,
He knows when to make, like, he knows
what to make.
the right pass. He's just, and I think Quinn Buckner said this on the broadcast the other night, he's got to learn, in college, you may be able to make this pass because people don't rotate as quick on the weak side or whatever. In the NBA, it's a different game. You got to learn, that pass is there, but maybe you
Fast.
have to make it earlier. Maybe you have to make it later. Maybe you have to throw in a pump fake, stuff like that he's still going to have to learn just by getting reps. But he really has all the tools to be a Draymond Green type, like all league defender who's can handle the ball some and make enough offensive plays to keep the defense honest. Like if he can put it all together. Now, granted, that's a big goal, but
Best case
I-
scenario, I think.
but that's, yeah, I think that's his ceiling.
Because I think the big thing with Jarris is that the defense is going to be there. It's just whether or not he can be a contributor on the offensive side of the ball.
Right.
And if like that 3 ball that we saw in the preseason, if that can translate to the regular season and he can just like hit those at a consistent clip, then I honestly agree with Jackson. And he might be starting over Obi because
Yeah.
Obi's great, but the Pacers need defense and rebounding. And
And
Obi doesn't rebound.
Jarris has given you more than Obi in
Yeah.
that
And
department.
Obi can't really shoot either. Like they're about same from behind the arc. I think they both shoot about like 35%. Like unless like Jarris Walker comes out here and sucks and like shoots like 20%, like Jalen Smith did after his second year. But like neither of them are great shooters. Like they're not looking at them as shooters.
Mhm.
right.
Yeah, I'm agree with Jackson. I think that he will take it by the end of the season just because Miles Turner isn't the best rebounder. So you throw Jarris in there and just let him handle it. I think that when the season starts ramping up and teams start playing harder, he'll fit in better in the offense and the defense than Obi.
A lot of the faults with Miles rebounding is if he goes for the block, no one's boxing out the four, and then they just run up and get an easy board. Like that happens so much. Like
Yeah.
especially with like Obi Toppin and
Somebody's
places.
got to tag Miles's defender.
Yeah,
That's what, Jarris Walker kind of gives me some Thad Young vibes in how he plays. Like Thad Young was very much a defensive first player. He could play make to a degree, and he shot enough to keep the defense honest, but like really his best
That was game.
offense was actually the post, which obviously Jarris doesn't necessarily have, and that's not really something the league looks for anymore. But that was what Thad Young was. He was that rebounder to help. And that's why Sabonis got so many rebounds with Miles, because Miles goes for the block. Miles' man just follows like he saw it, but Sabonis always crashed and boxed out, stuff like that. So, and some of that's on scheme a little bit and coaching that, you gotta go get his man, but.
we
yeah,
haven't seen him with Miles yet because Miles didn't play
Right.
in the second half and didn't play the second game. Jarris only played the second half of the first game.
Yeah, because
So I'm like, interested in that like
he
matchup.
did get minutes beside
Jalen Smith.
Jalen Smith and then also Ijax, who
It's just
both
a
go for
different type of
blocks.
player.
So,
Mhm.
well, I just meant like in that sense, they both do go for blocks, but
I think my biggest fear is that since Rick Carlisle's our coach and he notoriously doesn't like playing rookies, that he'll have Jordan Nwora play over him to start the season.
which I don't hate Jordan Nwora, but
No,
like
I really
Jordan.
like Jordan Nwora, but like Jarris Walker was our lottery pick.
right.
He
I
needs to
think
get
he's
some
gonna
run.
play. I think he's gonna
He
play.
he played Ben
really
last
hope so.
year.
Yeah,
Not as
Ben
much as he
just
probably
was our-
could have.
Ben was probably our
Yeah.
best offensive player last year. Like just scoring, go get us a bucket.
yeah.
Like you had to play him. He didn't start
Yeah.
because like they wanted him to learn discipline and everything.
But
Which
even with Ben, like he was a super highly touted prospect and draft pick. And there were some games where he was playing like 12 minutes. And that's just because Rick could see that he wasn't on and he just pulled him. So I'm
That's-
a little bit afraid that Jarris will maybe get like 7 minutes for a game and brick a few threes and Rick will just pull him and
Right.
we
The
won't
only
see him
thing
again.
is,
if he's
like,
defending,
yeah, Ben Mathurin
Yeah.
also didn't play a lick of defense, so that's also part of the reason I know there are times where he'd get blown by like twice and fail to box out, and then he'd be out of the game. And I don't see Jarris doing that, so that's, maybe positive, but
and Ben looks a lot better on defense this year.
yeah,
Like his preseason play, and I know it's preseason, but he's just looked really good to me. Like
Ben's just a dog.
his
That's a
significant
lot.
jump.
Playing defense when it matters.
I'm excited for the season because none of them played with Tyrese yet. He hasn't played preseason,
Mm-hmm.
and we
Right.
didn't have Nemhard. We haven't had a point guard really, except for TJ McConnell, and he arguably is our third string
The
like
GOAT.
playmaker.
yeah, and he only played, since it's preseason, he
And only
didn't
played
play
the
a
first
lot.
quarter. Like Bruce Brown played a lot of point guard, and we had Isaiah Wong. Like these
Right.
bigs aren't gonna like look like they're gonna look in the season because
And
they don't have their guards.
TJ McConnell is, like 6 foot even, and he was matched up against Amin Thompson, who was one of my players.
Mm.
Actually, he was matched up against Freddie.
Well, Amin played
Freddie
more
barely
than
played.
Freddie,
Big
Uh,
Fred.
but Amin Thompson, same thing with his brother, overtime elite guy. He's 6'6" with a 7-foot wingspan, which is ridiculous for a
Very
guard.
long.
Obviously was taken fourth by the Rockets. And like he is the ultimate point guard that can't shoot. He's kinda the Ben Simmons school of big giant guards that do anything. That can't do anything outside the arc.
Mhm.
And that is really his entire fault. He's crazy, crazy, crazy athletic. He's super fast in transition and he's really good playmaker and passer. Obviously, he's young, so he's makes some questionable decisions now and then. Every young player does. But like really for him, it's the shooting that really, that is the thing for him if he can get that or not.
Do you see him getting some run at small forward?
He could, cause like he kind of reminds me of Josh Giddey a little bit like that, cause
Mm.
Giddey also a very offensive minded pass first point guard who couldn't really shoot when he came into the league, and they pretty much played him at small forward. Because then you can kind of space him out and have him, play on ball some, play off ball some, and make passes off ball and stuff like that. But
Do you all think he's gonna start immediately?
No.
Because
didn't in
I
the
don't think he's
preseason.
going to.
I don't like what the Rockets are doing, signing the veterans. I think they should have let them grow.
Then again, if
They
Dylan
had the money.
Brooks
They had
gets
to spend the money.
ejected from every game, he might
But
get a lot
he's
of run.
comments
They could-
afterwards that so dumb.
They could trade the two. Like they just needed to spend that money. They were gonna like they had to spend it somewhere. They didn't get James Harden, so if they really need to, they could trade Fred VanVleet
Did you hear the thing of why they didn't get James?
because he wanted to be that scoring leader again.
Yeah,
That's
so
what
they
they told
couldn't
him
do
at
it.
Ime
Udoka.
was like, nah.
I think it was everybody. Like even like everyone. There was a whole meeting, and they said, "Oh, this is okay. We're done here."
I mean, I understand it. Sounds like he just
Yeah.
wants to shoot.
He's not gonna get traded. He's just gonna get rot on the Sixers and not get signed. Or the Lakers are gonna do something dumb and then trade for him.
But I guess since we're talking about Ahmed, we can kind of lump in Asar Thompson. But pretty much everything Cody said about Ahmed also applies to Asar. But Asar is more of a 2-3, not really a guard as much.
Yeah.
But he's
He can-
also
his
like
form looks better.
ridiculously athletic.
Which one can shoot better?
Asar.
Probably Asar.
It's
Yeah.
not
Even his
it's like
jumper's not like perfect. Like it
But
looks a
Ahmed's
little
is
shaky, but
ugly.
yeah,
He's
it
a
is not
pacer.
Ahmed's.
He's a
He's
pacer.
constantly changing it. I was watching some film and it's
You see
just
Johnny Davis? Oh, he changed his
That
jump
was
shot again.
disgusting.
And it's bad.
he did.
Because
Oh
I
my
know the
God.
clip you're talking about.
His elbows
It was
out
a
to
catch
like
and
Canada.
shoot, and yeah, he like catches it, brings it all the way down, and then brings it up to like the right side of his head and just like chucks it basically.
It's bad.
And it was a brick.
Speaking of Johnny Davis, let's go over to apparently what his counterpart is. Is Jaden Ivey. He came off the bench in their preseason game.
yeah, I
Really,
saw
because
that.
that was a question I was going to ask you all about Asar. Is do you think he is going to start?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, Asar is their small forward, and I really expected Ivy just to be their starting shooting guard. But I guess I don't remember who they had starting. But I looked at shooting percentages, and he's a better 3-point shooter. So
Yeah, Ivy's a stinky 3-point shooter.
he did.
He's very
he did
streaky.
good in his. He did good in the preseason
He's
game.
better
was
than he
2 for
was in college. I
I'm
mean, he
basing it
got
on
better.
college.
He got better every year in college.
I just don't trust his three. I'm not saying he didn't get
Yeah,
better.
that's the big thing with it. It's like
He
he's
also
on or
buzzed
he
his head.
isn't.
But if the game's on the line, I'm trusting that three every time.
Mm-hmm.
Unless it's
He
like
does-
Buddy
he's
Hield.
got
If Buddy
that-
Hield had a shot open, I'd trust Buddy Hield over him.
I don't know if it was for the game
Jaden
though.
Ivey's got that factor.
I would trust Travion.
Yeah.
But
Who'd
I
they
mean,
play in preseason?
how many game winners did we watch Jaden Ivey hit from 3, 2 on Ohio
Yeah.
State alone?
He's just got that mentality of like, I'm gonna make this.
Well, they
That's-
played the Suns.
You got to have a short memory. But
Mhm.
speaking of Asar, I mean, he had that clutch 3 to send it to overtime.
Yeah,
against the
in their
Suns.
game.
Plus, he
I
was
think-
guarding I think it was Devin Booker from like the jump in that game. And
Yeah,
obviously it's Devin Booker, so you're not going to stop him.
right.
I think
I'll
it's
let-
interesting that Monty trusted him to do that.
They started Alec Burke over Jaden Ivey.
mhm.
Wow.
I
That's
think
interesting.
Might
Asar
just
will
be
have a better
preseason.
rookie season than Amen just because he seems
Yeah.
to be more okay with being like the role player. I'm just gonna do like everything.
He had 12,
Right.
10, and
Like all the other
6 in that
stuff.
game.
And with the Rockets, I mean, you have Jalen Green, who's a driver. You have,
Jabari.
you have
Brady's a shot chucker.
Fred Van Vliet, who's a shooter, but not a super efficient one. You have, Dylan Brooks, who's not efficient.
Right, his
Like-
Never saw a
form's
shot
so
he didn't
bad.
like.
I mean, Jabari Smith is like probably their best 3-point shooter by a mile. I mean, it's just, I worry a little bit about their spacing, but like last night against the Pacers, they were killing us because they were just beating us off the dribble. But like if they
Mhm.
actually run into a good defensive team that can keep them in front,
Milwaukee.
you know, they kind of, Houston has a lot of a similar player in driving athletic guys. Like, yeah, they're
Yep.
crazy athletic, but I mean, they're just,
Like,
he's
Cam
you
Whitmore
can't-
looked like Giannis against the Pacers.
right.
Shangoon's gonna cook.
Yeah, and the thing that I worry about with Amin is that he becomes like modern day Russ. Where he's like super athletic, and if he can get downhill, he's gonna do well, and he's still a really good passer. But like in isolation, if he can't get by somebody, is he gonna settle for like pull up shots that don't go in? You know what I'm saying?
He's gonna
Mhm.
build a team around him like OKC did.
Because I mean, he shot 64% from the free throw line in overtime
Ugh.
elite, like 23% from three. Like it's gonna take a lot of work to fix that jumper.
Mhm.
Mhm. He's gonna have to just completely rework it.
Just come to Indiana. We got a few people that can show you.
So yeah, I mean, I don't know. So
I
is
like
that
the Twins.
I think everybody's discussed one, right? Or
Yep.
Peyton's discussed two.
Mhm.
So I mean, I guess speaking of shot form, another guy I have is Grady Dick, who is
Ooh.
the complete
Mm.
opposite, and he is a shooter. That
He's
is-
a stroker.
He is, pause, he is the stereotypical white guy. Like he is Kevin Herter, Doug
Pretty
McDermott
much.
reincarnated. Just maybe, I mean, because he's got that sneaky athleticism like Doug McDermott does. Like Doug McDermott's got some sneaky bounce, and Grady Dick's got that too. But I mean, Grady Dick's big as well. Pause. Pause. 6'6" and a 6'9" wingspan. Like that's pretty good size.
Dick
Really?
is big.
His only question is defense, obviously being a white boy. He did shoot 40% from three in college on 6 attempts a game.
You
I
see,
think the Raptors. Oh, good.
I see his nickname with Precious Achua. Precious Dick.
Oh my god. But I think the Raptors will be a good fit for him just because they've got so many long wings that can defend, but a lot of them can't shoot. So
Yeah.
he can slot right in.
Mhm.
Yep. And he's not even just like only a catch and shoot guy. Like he's a come off screens, shoot, take a couple dribbles, pull up, fadeaways and mid range. Like he can do that. And like
I
I
have seen
said,
him dunk before.
and yeah, like I said, he's got some sneaky athleticism. He really is really so similar to Doug McDermott. It's kind of funny, to be quite honest with you.
Doug McDermott.
Although Grady Dick probably has a higher ceiling in that Doug McDermott was very much a catch and shoot guy or like pull up off Doug McDermott didn't really dribble a lot. He did start to dribble a little bit, but like Grady Dick has a little higher of a ceiling. I don't know that Grady Dick has the tools to be like a really awesome, great player,
Mhm.
like top of the league, but he's going to be a NBA starting level guy he's going to be a rotational level guy for his
I can
entire
see, like, a-
career, and
a
he's going to have a
Buddy-like
long
role.
career.
I feel like you should go to Spurs.
for reference, Doug McDermott's like 3/4 of an inch taller, so his very
Mm.
pretty similar. Doug McDermott's a little bigger. He's got about 20 pounds on him,
Yeah,
which is
Doug was
another
kind of plump.
question.
Grady's kind of tall and skinny.
Don't
Yeah,
worry, Dick
Grady
will
Dick's
get bigger.
It's because he's a
kind of
child.
lanky.
He's a one and
Yeah.
done, right?
Yeah, he is 19. He
Yeah.
will turn
Oh,
20
wow.
next month.
Yeah, he's young.
Yeah.
The
His
only thing I don't
birthday's-
trust is he's from Kansas, and Kansas never produces like really. Like they have a few, but like they produce a lot of like NBA players.
Especially that Wilt Chamberlain guy.
Like I'm talking about the last
And
30
Joel
years. I'm saying they produce some
Also,
really
his
good ones. Just
fashion
some.
sense.
Andrew Wiggins is half decent.
It's like they're role players. They never like produce any good role players. That's what I'm saying. Like you knew Joel Embiid and Wilt and people like that. Andrew Wiggins are gonna make the NBA and probably play. They had all the talent, but like Grady Dick, he's just
Yeah.
one of them guys.
Yeah. It's just, what really pained me in this whole study thing we did, all my guys were born in 2003, which kind of is nasty
Ugh.
looking to
Yeah,
write down.
Tommy Hawkins is older than me, so I didn't care that much.
We're old men.
Yeah.
We're 21. We're not old. We're not young. We're just in
We're
purgatory.
ancient.
We're true adults now. We can drink.
So, Tucker, who's your second guy?
All right, we've got like the opposite of Grady Dick, Derek Lively. He
Alright.
cannot shoot supposedly, but he plays defense. I think he's gonna be your typical center. Like he gets some rebounds, he blocks shots, he catches lobs. Didn't do a ton in college, like points per game, rebounds wise, 5 and 5 right there. But he had 2.4 blocks per game. And if I remember correctly, it was like 20 minutes. And he's shooting 72% on his 2-point attempts. So I think it's kind of what the Mavericks are going to be looking for. They haven't had like a defensive big since they've gotten Luka, I don't think. And he's a rookie. Rookie bigs can struggle. Originally I had him like when I was getting ready for this recording, I had him as maybe like a second string guy who's going to earn his way to the starting spot, but I think he started in their preseason game the other day.
Who would be starting over him potentially?
They said he's
Gosh.
starting. They said he's a starting big this year.
Really?
Oh, they said it?
Yeah.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, if I remember correctly, like when I looked at that, he already had a couple blocks in like 10 minutes of play.
They mentioned they might start both their rookies this year.
I mean, cause
Who's
like,
their
who
other one?
else? Who else are
The
they gonna
dude that was
start?
drafted by the Kings, his name was like something stupid. Me and Peyton just talked about this. You remember? Because you're like, he's on the team.
Olivier
Yes, Olivier.
Maxence Prosper.
Yes. Olivier.
Oh, he's Canadian too.
One
yeah,
rookie
they're-
I'm concerned about is Taylor Hendricks. He's not playing. Like he got 2 minutes of preseason, and he's on the Jazz.
I know, it's really weird.
He didn't play in the summer league either.
Because he was a really highly touted prospect.
Yeah. Because I was interested in him, but then he's not playing. It's weird.
Yeah, I guess I'm really not that surprised that Derek Lively's gonna start since like his competition is basically Dwight Powell, period.
Yeah. Yeah,
mean-
I one thing I'll be interested to see this season, like to keep tabs on. Like I said, he's not really known to be a 3-point shooter, shot 15% in college. But in high school, he was hitting threes. And supposedly one of the reasons he shot up the mock draft boards was he was hitting threes in his combine workouts.
Like Zach Edey.
Interesting.
So
Well, I mean,
that could
you
be
see-
something that develops.
Yeah, I mean, they're like Bam, Bam, I don't think made a 3-point shot in his entire college career at Kentucky. And now he's not a shooter,
Yeah.
but like he can make it,
Mm-hmm.
if like not very often, but he'll shoot
He just doesn't
one.
take them really.
Yeah. Now he's gotten really good at the mid-range shots though, and that
Mhm.
helps, just spacing the floor helps. Even if it's not a 3. But you know,
The Mavericks are probably really hoping that this pick pans out for him. Because like you said, they
Mhm.
really haven't had a player like him in a while. And like if you want to be a championship contender, I feel like you have to have that guy on your team that just kind of shoots up out of nowhere and
Dirty
starts
work.
contributing. Like look at
Mhm.
Christian Brown for the Nuggets last year.
right.
Like he was a rookie who was getting consistent playoff minutes. And if Derek Lively could be that for the Mavericks, that would be huge for him.
I guess they also have Rashawn
That's what I
Holmes.
was thinking was
I
gonna be their
know there
backup
was the
center.
whole thing about them trying to
Mm.
find another trade for him and stuff like that, so I don't
Well,
really
they have to
know.
wait so long now.
Yeah, so I don't know really what'll go on. I mean, he only played 8 minutes in their preseason game, so like,
They didn't win it either.
no.
Derek
They lost
Lively
to
is going
the
to need
Magic.
to be good on defense though, because nobody on this team can play defense.
Yeah, he's
No.
gonna have to be their defense. It's gonna be like a
Yeah.
Rudy Gobert thing where there's funneling people to him.
I
I mean,
watched his preseason play.
they gave up 127 points to Real Madrid. Now I know it's
Yeah.
like they're playing their G leaguers and stuff, but still, I mean, Facundo Campazzo and Gerchan Yabusele, two guys who couldn't make the NBA, are cooking you like that. Mario Hezonja's, dang, Blazers
Super
legend
Mario?
Tucker.
I
I
do
feel like
have
most.
to. Oh, good.
I was gonna say I feel like most of his like issues in preseason was like just speed of the game, kind of like Jarris Walker's. He just seemed like it went too fast for him, and he's a young kid out there.
Yeah.
But
It's
he'll
like
get used to
most
that.
rookies say that that's like the biggest change of pace from college is literally the pace.
Yep.
He had good
That's
plays
why
too,
they
though.
that's why they say the like the foreign players, like, Luca talked about how, easy, like how, how much
Yeah.
quote unquote easier the NBA is. That's like a lot of those international players come in and play pretty well to begin just because they've played professional organized basketball where the speed's different than college. Like look at if you're playing in the Big Ten, which I've got a Big Ten guy that I'll discuss later, but like in the Big Ten, it's throw it to your center, let them stand there for a minute, move around, unless you're running Matt Painter's offense, you're not having a ton of movement and stuff. Like it's very much an old school brand of physical basketball. So like it's hard to translate that immediately into the NBA. Like Jaden Ivey. Jaden Ivey's a very much perfect player for the NBA in terms of fast pace, lots of spacing, slashing, getting up and down the floor. And then so when he played at Purdue, it was like, how do you utilize somebody like this in a grit and grind Big Ten scenario?
Mm-hmm. Because we didn't even really use him a ton in the half court. Like he
No,
was mostly a transition
because
end of shot clock guy.
finally towards the end of that season, when we were having the struggles and Eric Hunter Jr. wasn't playing well, we were just started just giving Jaden Ivey the ball and getting out of the way, which worked to a degree, but
Yeah.
still there just wasn't enough spacing and such.
Yeah.
So I know we had that one game where he just spammed pick and rolls with Edie, like possession after possession, and it worked possession after possession.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah.
was that everybody's
I think
second guy?
Jackson has to give a second guy.
Okay.
Oh yeah, I've had Anthony Black. So basically he's a really good prospect defensively and has like really good passing. His offense has a little bit to be desired because he can't really like create off the bounce, and he can drive and he's really athletic, but he can't finish as well as other players. He is a 6'7" guard though, so that's always interesting. And he's a really bad shooter. Like he shot like low 60s to 50% from the line, and then he shot almost 30% from three in college. And if you're not having the success in college, I don't think it's going to translate well in the NBA where it's harder to shoot. So that's something he's gonna have to work on. But like apparently he's like a really good defender off ball and on ball. Like he'll probably be the best defender on the Magic this year. Just overall. There's probably better like blockers and everything because they got some bigger players, but
So is he kind of similar to like Jalen Suggs in that regard, where like the offense leaves a little bit to be desired, but
he's a
he
better
can clamp?
playmaker and he's like really good at driving. So if he has an open lane and stuff,
Okay.
like if he can get that creating, I think he'll be a little better than Jalen Suggs. His comparison on the ringer was to Lonzo Ball, like how he used to be whenever he couldn't shoot. So like he could be a really good prospect. Plus, he's 19, and he has. Let me see how big his wingspan was. He has a really big wingspan. Uh, and I don't know if they're counting the hair in the 6'7". I hope not, because that hair is really long. But he had a like a 6'8" wingspan, so a little positive. But for a guard, that's crazy. Like he can
Mhm.
handle. Like I think he'll be a little better than Jalen Suggs.
Yeah, I
Do you see
remember.
them moving off of him?
I don't know. They just need to move off one of like they have too many guards.
Yeah, they have way too
Mhm.
many guards, but I remember watching Anthony Black in Arkansas, and he fit, Arkansas, the SEC school, they're more the athletic, type of a conference, more athletes on the perimeter and stuff, and he was a terror on defense
Yeah.
in college, just him and the other big athletic guys they had out there, just mucking up passing lanes and making it really difficult and on the other teams.
Honestly, if they wanted to do a small ball lineup, play him at the 3, put Paulo at the 5, Franz at the 4. I think that would be a pretty good lineup if they have two guards that can shoot behind him.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
that's the big thing with the Magic is they just need shooting. And if
And
Cole Anthony isn't really giving you that, then he's going to need to be clamping.
yeah, yeah. But I think he could find his way into a pretty good spot on the rotation. Just considering, like, I don't think Cole Anthony, he's more like the Trey Young build, more of a shot chucker. I mean, I'm not saying that's all he does, but for
I
what he's good at, he's not going to be very much of a contributor compared to, because, like, at least Jalen Suggs can clamp.
I definitely feel like Cole Anthony might be the odd man out here, just because he's a little bit older than a guy like Jalen Suggs. And if they do want to move on from a guard, I feel like it'll probably be him
I think
because
Cole
Markel's
one
too good.
depends on what they get back for him. I think get back a crazy return. I think you can move off Markel, but I'm not saying look for
Mhm.
trades. I think Cole's probably the first you move, and then Suggs if like the trade's not out there. But if someone's willing to give you something for Markel, you could have him second. But I think they're about even, and then just
Mhm.
develop Black because Black could honestly play the small forward. But you're just gonna want because they got Franz Wagner, and then they got Wendell Carter, and they got Paulo. So like their wing depth's pretty good, like in big depth. So I don't know where he'd fit in there. You might want him at the
Yeah,
guard.
because that is going to be interesting to see how he slots into the rotation. Because like for guards, you have Markel, Cole Anthony, Jalen Suggs, Gary Harris might get some play if they're trying to compete, but Gary Harris could be the odd link out here. They have Joe Ingles, or the shell of the man that used to be Joe Ingles. So it'll be interesting to see where he can slot in.
Yeah. They also have John Isaacs, which apparently he's been healthy
Bro, I forgot
recently.
about him.
And they drafted Jet Howard, and he's a small forward that can shoot. So, and they have Goga. So, I think they have a lot to figure out, and it's not necessarily bad because they're a young team, not expected to make the playoffs. They just gotta kind of work out the kinks. I think they could make it to like the 10th seed, make a play-in push at the highest. I mean, they might be really good, but I think they're gonna be really good in a few years.
Yeah. I think they fall into that category of teams that are going to be a problem in a few years. But this year, like you said, the 10 seed's probably their ceiling.
I trust them more than the Pistons at the moment.
Yeah, same here.
And then I don't know if it's my fan base talking, but I trust Tyrese better than anyone on that team. I mean, Paulo's really good, but he can't really shoot on the arc. And yes, he's making 50% of his shot. I mean, like what, 60%? Whatever. He's shooting a crazy from the field, like in the paint and everything. But that just limits your offense so much whenever you can't shoot.
Yeah, no, I think the Pacers are in a tier above the Magic because, like, you could argue that Miles Turner is a better player than anyone on the Magic.
Body healed. Paulo's really good though. I can't diss him.
Yeah,
I'm gonna have to say he actually doesn't shoot that well. That's why I wouldn't trust him as
He doesn't
much.
shoot in the paint.
He's
I'm just thinking of that month where he did not shoot a free throw and he's averaging 28.
Oh yeah, because overall he's shooting 42.7 and 30 from the field.
See, the three is better than because he was shooting 0 at one point from
Mm.
three. I think that's like February. I don't know, but he'll get better. He's a dog.
Yeah. All right. Well, I guess let's move on to all of our third guys. So I had Cam Whitmore. He's kind of infamous now from his fall to number 20. And I think a lot of teams are going to regret passing up on him. Because, I mean, we watched the Pacers preseason game the other night, kind of like glancing at it, but he was an absolute unit. Like I
liked
said,
him.
like against that Pacers defense, he looked like Giannis. He is like a tremendous athlete and not kind of like in the way we were talking about the Thompson twins, where because they're just kind of like super agile and fast. But with Cam Whitmore, he brings a lot of like power. Like he put some of the Pacers players into the weight room. And I think he had TJ McConnell's life flash before his eyes when he went up for a dunk.
Yeah.
He really reminds
But
me of taller Ben Mathurin.
yeah, like he's a very, very good finisher and he's kind of a Swiss Army knife on offense
Yeah.
because I mean, if you just look at his highlights, you'll see him like sizing up his defender and pulling up from three and splashing it. And I don't know that he is going to be able to consistently do that his rookie year, but like as he develops, like who's to say he can't?
He has a better like opportunity because there's so many people that's going to be prioritized above him on offense. Like he's
'Cause
not going to be
that's
like the main option. Like he's going to be doing this against like second to third stringers.
because that's another thing with him is he's going to be competing for minutes with Jayshawn Tate coming off the bench. So it's going to be interesting to see how that ends up. And I know the Rockets have Reggie Bullock now, but I doubt they're going to play him over Cam Whitmore. But yeah,
Yeah.
there's got to be something else going on with him, whether it's health or personality,
He
because
had
just for
terrible
the
interviews.
talent, because he is not a 20th pick just based
Yeah,
on
and I
talent.
mean, you know, Kevin Pritchard, the Pacers general manager, said that they were basically
Trying to
calling
draft him.
everybody trying to trade up to get him when he was falling, and
Mhm.
nobody would bite, basically.
He's
And
just he's
and then, you know,
awesome.
obviously the Rockets took him at 20, so I mean, at least the Pacers,
Tried.
tried to get him as well.
Yeah.
So,
I thought
Because
we might
like
there's
you
take
so
said,
him at
many teams
7.
that just picked other people over him.
right, as with everybody, injuries will always injuries are undefeated in this league. There's nobody that's suffered major injury. Like look at Greg Oden for the Blazers. Sorry, Tucker, but
Yeah.
like who knows how like he was so hyped and who knows how good he could have been. I mean, picked before Kevin Durant and then all he did was deal with injuries and never turned into really anything.
If he hadn't
Mm-hmm.
gone to Portland, he probably would have been fine.
Right.
We're the ones who broke him.
Because
If you
that's
know
another
the
thing,
story.
situation.
Lopez got better after breaking his back.
Well, we broke his knee because we put an insert in his shoe, even though he'd played his whole life without it.
Right. I mean, look at Vic. Vic was on top of the world. His first all NBA
Yeah.
appearance, all defensive appearance. One of the best rising players in the league blows his knee out, and now he's blew his other knee out and is, one more even just minor injury from being out of the league.
He
Like
is out of
And
the
I
league.
mean,
even if he comes back in a year for next season, if some team takes a chance, he gives him a minimum or something, like there's no way he's gonna have the explosiveness, and that was his whole thing was explosiveness. So like, like I said, injury is undefeated. The only people who have ever beat injury or age are Tom Brady and LeBron James.
and those are the GOATs
And
behind
Kareem,
Peyton Manning
I
and
suppose.
Nash
Michael
and
Jordan.
Paul.
Oh,
Must see
Peyton-
TV.
I mean, even Peyton Manning, his time with the Colts was cut short
Damn
because
near
of injury.
died.
Andrew Luck. I
Yeah.
know this is a basketball podcast, but still, with sports,
Tiger Woods.
with sports,
He
injury is
couldn't keep it
just
in the pants.
such a bad, such a big unknown that you're going to deal with at some point in your career. Everybody's going to be injured at some point. And the question is, how do you deal with it? How much do you play? Like Vic was having knee problems for months before he blew his knee out when he was with the Pacers. Like he'd miss games here and he'd miss a game there, but he never really, he always wanted to play and he always played on it. And then it led to him blowing it out. So
That's fair. We've
It
talked
is
about
just
Vic
kinda
like 10
wild.
times.
I know. I miss
Cody's
him.
boy right there. It's just kind of wild some of the teams that passed on Cam Whitmore. Because like you said, injuries are gonna do their thing. But
I
let's
think
say
the
he
Heat
does
should've
just have
taken
a
him.
fully healthy
We
career.
didn't take
Like,
him because he's too similar to Ben and he can't play as good of defense as Jarris Walker. So we didn't need him.
but like the Warriors passed on him, the Lakers passed on him, the Heat passed on him, the Jazz passed on him,
That's
Pelicans
where I thought
passed
was
on him.
crazy. The Jazz, they don't have anybody. And then the
Like
player
these
they
are
have
all
does not
teams
play.
that could have taken a chance on him,
Taylor Hendricks
especially
doesn't even
like
play.
Lakers, Heat, and Warriors, teams that are all trying to contend.
Jalen Hood Shavino's gonna suck.
Yep.
Because I mean, I know the Lakers and the Heat probably are fine with their picks, but like the Warriors, they drafted Brandon Podziemski. I definitely did not pronounce that right, but
You're telling me Jaime Jaquez is gonna be better than Cam Whitmore? He would have been great on the Heat.
no,
Yeah, I
but
think the Heat should have taken him. That was
because I agree, but I don't think they're gonna. Obviously, if Cam Whitmore turns into an All-Star All-NBA, they're gonna regret it. But
Oh, and they could have
like
traded him
Jaime Jaquez
for
seems like he's gonna
Dame.
be a good player.
I would have been
well,
enticed
true.
by
It cracks me up the whole
Cam Whitmore.
Jaime Jaquez and Jovic. They were like those two for Dame. It's fair.
I mean, reportedly they didn't even offer Jaime Jaquez. It was like Jovic
Yeah.
and picks.
They
and
couldn't
Tyler
offer
Hero.
Jaime Jaquez. He wasn't eligible to be traded until December.
What are you talking about? Yeah, he is.
I don't think so. I think they had to
Yeah,
wait to a certain
it's-
date.
Rookies are 1 month after you sign.
Yeah, because like Walker Kessler got traded last year.
That was before. I thought that was before he got signed.
No, because the whole trade
Got
package
traded,
was
like,
Jaime Jaquez, Jovic, and 2 firsts.
That's not what I'm
and a pick swap.
saying. Walker Kessler got traded like 2 days after the draft. He didn't even sign yet. Like he signed and
Oh.
got traded basically.
But wouldn't that
Oh,
just be like
yeah.
the same thing basically?
There's like a delay. Like, isn't there when after you sign and then it's like 2 days it's official and then you can't trade them? That's with any
For a
player.
month. Yeah, it's 1 month. Because I was still worried we were going to trade Scoot after the month was up. And then I saw there was packages where like we sent out Chris Murray and stuff.
MVP Chris Murray.
But all right, should we move on to the next person?
Yeah,
Yes.
go ahead, Tucker.
Okay. I have Amani Bates. So this is an interesting prospect because I mean when you look at him, he's built exactly like Brandon Ingram and Kevin Durant. Like and he plays like that. He just like he's 6'9", super skinny, 190 pounds. And he can get buckets. Like he can go score. I just need to know about his work ethic. Like he hasn't put on any size since like high school, it looks like. His weight didn't change from freshman to sophomore year of college. And so I think that'll be a big question of does he become the Cavaliers like small forward of the future in a year or two because he puts in the work and gets his shooting splits up, or does he fall off because he just doesn't want to go to the weight room?
I think he's gonna have some out off the court issues before that.
Like what?
Like he doesn't care about basketball. I mean, it doesn't seem like. I mean, all the gun shit and just I don't know. He just seems like he's not worth the trouble of someone that you took in the 54th pick. Like I don't think he's gonna be their small forward of the future. I think they're just
I
taking
know.
like he's gonna be a G leaguer.
They are definitely hoping that he will turn into that though. Because
I
that
mean,
would be
yeah.
such a great pick if he could.
Who doesn't
I
throw
saw-
a dart at like a
Mhm.
second rounder? I'm just saying they're not gonna
Yeah.
put too much stock into him if he's not gonna try.
I saw he did well in the preseason.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 10 points, 4-7 shooting. So I think he'll definitely get some G League minutes this year. Because he needs to develop and better shot selection and stuff. But he has the skill and he's tall. They just got to find a way to get him to put it together.
The Cavs
I
are
don't
messy
think-
to me.
Yeah, like I don't think Amani's gonna play this year, just because the Cavs are like trying to contend
Mm-hmm.
ish, and like I just don't really think there's room in that rotation for him. But hopefully for them a few years down the line, he can kind of unlock some of that potential. Because wasn't he a really, really good prospect like a
He
few
was
He
years
was the
ago?
number one
Yeah.
recruit in his class.
Because I remember hearing all about him until some of that college stuff kind of derailed him.
people who go to Memphis seem to have a lot of issues.
Yeah. The one thing I will say
Yeah,
that is
Crows didn't.
good is how after all that went down, like he said, kinda said, all right, and he went to his, that, small school,
Eastern
what,
Michigan.
Central
Eastern Michigan.
Michigan or something like
Central.
that, kinda went back home and like still played, like he coulda, thrown a fit or something like that, but he kinda took his medicine and went and played a full season and there at Central Michigan to try to fix his draft stock. I think there is something to say about that. He could have tried to just declare for the draft or go try to sign, with one of those overtime league or, overseas or anything. And he did like he went from the highest ranked prospect to playing at Central Michigan. Like I think there's something to be said about he at least like recognized that he needed to do something, which I think's good.
Let's just be
Mhm.
glad he didn't go to Charlotte. He'd been in the prison already.
Yeah. Alright, well, I guess we'll move this along and talking about Michigan. So, Kobe Buffkin is my dude. He was, pick 15 by the Hawks. So what, that is the last pick of the lottery or the first pick out of the
No.
First pick
lottery?
out of the lottery.
Yeah, first pick out of the lottery. He's 6'4", 6'7" wingspan, only 190. So he is very much a combo scoring guard in every facet of it. I mean, he did play 2 years at Michigan. So he is 20. He'll be turning, he just turned 20, last month. So he actually is still pretty young for being a 2-year college player. But his sophomore year, I mean, he averaged 14 points, shot 48% from the field and 36% from three, which is pretty good for high level college ball in the Big Ten. His thing is like he's very good scorer and he's very good at rebounding. Like that, he averaged 4.5 rebounds in the Big Ten on a team with Hunter Dickinson and some other NBA prospects. So really his only questions are his size, because he's only, like I said, 187 pounds was his combine measurement at 6'4". And so that kinda, defense is gonna be a question there. A lot of guys could maybe overpower him. And then he still has to work on his handle a little bit. Can be a little loosey-goosey sometimes. But a lot of what I saw kind of compared him to like a CJ McCollum type scoring guard. So that's kind of the deal with him. One thing with him is, like we talked about with the Big Ten, you throw it into Hunter Dickinson and watch him dance in the post for 3 minutes every possession. So, he didn't get to play a lot on ball, but there was quite a few people who seemed to think that he could crack the rotation for the Hawks this year even.
Yeah,
Especially
I
when they
mean, he's
trade
still not going to
Trey.
be able to play on ball, but instead of
Right,
watching Hunter Dickinson dance, he's going to have to watch Trey Young and Clint Capella dance.
right. Because I mean, his scoring ability is very much there. Like he can score. Um, and I know a lot of people think, it kind of seems like his ceiling may be like a top 6 man, like a scoring punch 6 man coming off the bench, like like you think like Jamal Crawford did that forever, or Lou Williams, like that 6 man who comes in just to get buckets, kinda. So
I
kind of an
respect him.
interesting prospect because when I watched him at Michigan, I never really was like, yeah, that's dude right there is the NBA prospect. But watching some film of him, he has all the offensive tools. He did struggle a little bit in the preseason game. He got 18 minutes, but only shot 4 of 11.
Mm.
But as we talked about though, there's a speed adjustment that has to be taken into place.
I definitely think he could crack the rotation this year, just because, I mean, really, for the Hawks do have a lot of guards with Trey Young and DeJounte Murray being their two best players. Like really off the bench. I mean, they have
They,
like Patty Mills.
they have Wesley Matthews. I don't know when he arrived, but
And the
Summer.
they also drafted Seth Lundy, another Big Ten guy right there, Penn
True.
Daddy
State.
Mundi.
So they're all Big Ten, I guess. But
Yeah, I feel like the Hawks are going to be like a really, really good offense this year, but probably not a great defense. And I mean, if
no,
he does manage to crack the rotation, I feel like he'd fit right in there.
yeah,
But, all right, so I believe Tucker and Jackson. Do you all
Hey,
still have someone?
no, it's just Jackson.
I have Jaime
Okay.
Jaquez, which he's an older player from college. He played all 4 years. And he's on the Heat. He's not going to be Dame's replacement, like we said in the 2 episodes ago, but he fits in with Heat culture. He's like kind of a hustle player. He gets boards, steals. He just kind of an all around player. Can't really shoot very much, but he's a 6'6" player. He's actually pretty athletic. I've seen some like nasty dunks in the preseason, which he doesn't seem like he'd be athletic. So he just kind of, I think he'll be able to contribute right away. And if he can learn how to shoot, it might be better. But the Heat don't really have many people that can shoot anyway, so they'll figure it out.
Yeah,
Do
I
you think
mean,
he'll play right away?
They don't have any depth, so I assume so.
That's true.
Who are they gonna not play him? He's their lottery pick, not lottery, first round pick. I'd play him.
Because
yeah,
they did
because
lose a lot of depth.
one thing about him, he's got a lot of experience, 4-year college player and, he went to, what I believe they went to Final Four,
He's on the UCLA,
UCLA.
yeah. So I think they
Um,
went to the Final Four.
but, yeah, I mean, obviously they were in the tournament every year he was there, I believe. So he's got, well, I guess not the COVID year because there was no tournament, but, uh, I mean, he's got plenty of experience. That is something that a lot of rookies don't have anymore.
He
All
can
the
also
one and
pass.
dones.
He's a pretty good passer.
He just looks like a Heat player.
He
Yeah,
really
that's what I was
does.
thinking. I think he'll
It's
be
like
good for
he had a
them.
good preseason game.
Like he's not gonna like move the needle, but I think he's just a good role player for them. If
So
they
like,
can
if
get
he
him,
could just be like a contributing rotation player this year, that's all they want him to be.
he did shoot 37% on dribble jumping threes. Like whenever he's handling the ball, I think he's just not. He can't catch and shoot
Oh, shoot.
Yeah.
because
I
he
mean,
averaged 32, just 3-point percentage. So I think
the
he's not a
Heat
very good
are kings of finding random players to turn into
Did you see the guy
important
from
players.
yesterday? Oh crap, what was his name?
David Highsmith's going to have MVP season.
The Heat have another undrafted guy who he didn't play until like the end of the third quarter, and then
Ah,
in the fourth quarter scored what was it,
Cole
17
Swider
on
or
5?
Swider.
Yeah.
I don't know how you pronounce that.
I mean, he won them the game. Like, I swear, if they have their next, it's absurd. He's just Duncan Robinson, but like $40 million cheaper.
You signed Ryan Rupert, right, Tucker?
Repair, yeah,
The
yeah. I think he's a good prospect. I mean, he's
they had
another one of
him.
those like he's an elite defensive player, but
The
can't do
Ringer
anything
had him
on offense.
going in the first round. I'm looking at their
Mhm.
big board from last year.
This Cole Swider guy played 7 games for the Heat or for the Lakers this past season.
Oh, that name did
Really?
sound familiar. That was like during like the Matty Ice era.
Matty Ice.
In that preseason game, he was just shooting. He was 5 and 9 from 3. That's all of his shot attempts. But he had 17 points in 14 minutes.
He played all 4 years in college. He played at Villanova for 3 of them, didn't really do a ton. And then his senior year, he went to Syracuse and averaged 14 points a game. But that was his first year starting as well. He's been a 40% 3-point shooter throughout his college experience, so.
In that
Pretty good.
preseason game, Duncan Robinson went 0-7 from the field.
Of course.
You mean Sheen from Jimmy
This
Neutron?
Cole Swider, however you pronounce it, he's also 6'9", 225, so.
Oh
I
my
had a
God, big boy.
proposal idea. I don't think the Blazers and the Heat will ever do business together for a while. but the money is almost exactly equal. Jeremy Grant and Malcolm Brogdon for Kyle Lowry and Duncan Robinson,
Ugh.
and then you add in like, and then I think you have to add in like one more guy to get like $3 million to go to the Blazers, and then like a pick.
I mean, the Heat would definitely like that.
Because if I'm Portland, you get rid of Malcolm Brogdon for the young guards, and then Jeremy Grant. He was so bad yesterday.
I wouldn't
My
even do if
man
I was
got
the
his
Heat, I
bag.
would just be like, nah, I'm good. I don't want to play Jeremy Grant all that money. They're already terrible cap space. Would that put them over the apron?
Not
I'm
if
sure with all the money they're
well,
giving
not
Jimmy
if they get
Butler
the
in a
money
few years.
exactly.
What about next year? What about when Jeremy Grant's contract gets bigger?
Hmm.
Like you got to look at
I
this
don't
over
know.
because Jimmy Butler has a biggie contract too that's getting bigger,
That's true.
and they're all old and washed. Matt Brogdon, I don't even know about him. You see him at the pool party though? That was kind of cool. The Blazers are just thirsty. I tell you what. Why are they posting all the men in the pool party?
They do their pool party workout. Or they did it last year too.
Thirsty.
But DeAndre Ayton is absolutely shredded.
Winter's
my man
Tucker's glazing DeAndre Ayton.
I think
Ayo.
he's gonna be good.
So you all mentioned Jimmy Butler's contract.
Yeah.
In
And
2
Bam's getting bigger,
seasons,
right?
he has a $52.4 million player option.
Yeah,
Yep.
I knew they gave him a big fat
He's
deal.
making 45.2 mil this year, 48.8 next year, and then the 52.4 mil player option. I mean, Bam's making 32.6 this year, 34.8 next year, and then 37 the next.
Jeremy's goes up too.
They'll-
And then
they're
Malcolm
paying-
goes up.
They're paying Kyle Lowry 30 mil a year this year, but this is the last year. Tyler Hero, 27, 29, 31, 33.
Ugh.
Duncan Robinson, 18, 19.4, and then 20.
See,
But the 20's not fully
This
guaranteed.
is such a
I think
bad
this is just
contract.
payback for the Heatles existing and how everyone in the Eastern Conference made it this far, but then ran into LeBron. So now they're making it this far to the finals and then just blowing it up and like sucking in the finals. So they deserve it. Suck it, Heat fans. At least you're
I honestly
good.
don't.
Yeah,
I don't
they'd
think
be
that they're
happier in
gonna
the
make it.
playoffs.
I don't think they're gonna make it very far. They struggled to make the playoffs last year.
They made the
Like-
finals though.
The
Yeah,
thing
the
is,
Bulls almost bounced him from the play-in.
Yeah,
contract wise, like their team's kind of set. Like Kyle Lowry's a free agent next year. Kevin Love has a player option and Josh Richardson has a player option, but everybody else has a contract on the books for next year.
Well, does that open a max spot for him though? Because Kyle Lowry's leaving.
Yes, it probably would, especially
James
since the
Harden!
salary cap's only gonna go up.
James Harden to the Heat.
I
Ugh.
suppose could be what they're playing for.
Or Paul
Sit
George or
tight this
Kawhi.
season and sign a max guy next year. Cause right now they
Triple-
have 157 on the books, but that includes Kevin Love and Josh Richardson's player options. So,
I
That's
don't
their
know why,
next
but I
step.
feel like Zach LaVine or DeMar DeRozan would be good on the Heat. I think they'd fit in.
DeMar, I don't know.
Oh,
No shooting.
Demar.
No shooting.
I mean, they already don't have shooting, so it'd just be more
So
of
that-
what they
adding
do.
more.
actually, Jackson, I don't think they'd have, like, the salary cap this year is only 137 mil. So if the
Mhm.
calorie stats stayed the same, they'd be 20 mil over next year. And it will go up some, but it won't go up that much. So if anything, they're just gonna be like at the cap's place.
But could they sign and trade like a Kyle Lowry?
They'd have to get rid of probably
Pittsburgh
Duncan
rights.
Robinson and maybe Caleb Martin might make them a max spot. Again, it depends on what the salary cap does next season and how they get said player, whether it's a trade or whether it's a sign.
Because that's what made me think of the Bulls guys, is just because they have Kyle Lowry's expiring. If the Bulls do decide to blow it up, they could just give them salary, young guy, and maybe a pick.
I
Try
I
to
mean,
think
get
they
one of
trade
those guys.
Lonzo first before they even try to blow it up.
Tyler Hero making a guaranteed 120 mil over the next 4 seasons is a lot of money.
Just
Hey,
wait till
in that
Vooch
I
goes.
can't-
preseason game, 22 points on 22
I can't
shots.
believe that they gave him that because I'm a little biased, but Anthony Simons, I think, is better than Tyler Hero, and he makes like 5 mil less per year.
I disagree. I think they're about even.
They're close.
You're
That's
very
not
They're
low on
about
Tyler
even, but I
Hero,
would
though.
take Simons.
Depends on the team. A contender, I would take Tyler Hero over Simons.
On a contender.
We'll see
Simon
how you
needs,
feel about
Simon
that.
needs the
Simons.
ball.
Simons is a really good off-ball shooter though, because he had to play
I
next to
don't
Dame.
know.
Like he
you
wants
throw
the ball.
Tyler
in his
Hero
hand.
on like the Sixers, I think they're better. You throw Anthony Simons, I'm just like, okay, he's on the
Well,
team.
I
You
guess,
throw Simons on the Sixers, and I think that'd be really good.
I don't
I guess we'll
agree.
have to, put a pin in that discussion and discuss it at like the All-Star break. We'll see who's having the
No,
better
1
season.
week into the season, I'm bringing this back.
Well, you gotta
no
at
one's better
least
than
let
Tyrese.
20
the thing is-
games go by before you
I
make
said
any
they're
major.
even. I'm
But,
not
like-
saying Anthony sucks. I like Tyler Hero. You can't.
But
shit on
Simons
him.
really doesn't need the ball. Like Tucker said, he was playing alongside Dame, and whenever he would like explode and have his like 20-point quarters, Dame would just flip it to him, and he would pull up from like 4 feet behind the arc and splash it like 5 possessions in a row.
And I'm interested to see how he plays this season because in the preseason game, like he only played the first half, but the first quarter was a big part of it. And he just kind of ran in the offense, and I think he had like 5 points just running in the offense. And then in the last like minute of the half, it was a close game, and the offense was struggling. So he just took the ball and then ended the half with 14.
Andrew Nimhod better.
It is going to be fun with Simons. Basically, is the number one option.
I think him and Ayton
DeAndre
as a
Ayton's
combo
number one option.
is going to be nice.
They're going to be a fun team. I don't know if they're going to win a lot of games, but they're going to be a very fun team.
I think Brooklyn. I'm excited about them because Ben Simmons actually looking like Ben Simmons in the preseason. Like he's shooting with his right.
He's shooting with his right.
Like he's doing layups and stuff with his right, and it's going in. Everyone's like, reminder: Ben Simmons is actually a right-handed player. Like he had like what 12 points in like the first preseason game. Like he didn't play the whole time.
I saw
but
he did do good.
I think I was telling Jackson the other day, but like the Nets are going to be a tough team for teams to beat on like a night in, night out basis.
I think
Just
they're
because they
tough
remind me
out.
with the Raptors. Like
Yep.
they have a lot of players who are really known for their defense. And
Mm-hmm.
like if Ben Simmons goes back to being an all NBA defender, you have him. You have McHale, who was a finalist for Depoy multiple times. You got Nick Claxton, who probably should have made an all defensive team last year. Dorian Finney-Smith, just they have a lot of guys who will make the opposing team's nights not very fun.
Your team just
I-
kind of makes me grossed out on offense.
Because that's
I
the
really
big thing
like-
with them.
I like that they have Cam Thomas in there because they surrounded him with long defenders, and so I think they're just going to tell him go score 40.
They're gonna give
Don't
him
worry
just
about
4
the
minutes.
defense.
So, I will interject here and, I pulled up some stats on this Tyler Hero, Anthony Simons debate. They had an identical usage rate this past season. And, actually Tyler Hero had more percentage of his field goals assisted on. Which
Mm.
doesn't necessarily say, that you have to take some of that into consideration of how he's getting those, but that does mean Anthony Simons is taking more shot or making more shots unassisted than Tyler Hero.
All I'm saying, I think he's better with the ball in his hands. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying
They
he's
both
bad
are-
off ball.
They both have relatively similar numbers, to be quite honest with you, but
Because I mean, we all agree that they're very similar. Like they're in the same tier as
I'll throw
players.
Maxi in there too. I think
Tyler
Yeah,
Maxi's
Hero-
because that's
similar.
the other guy I was thinking about.
Tyler
We can all
Hero is
agree.
the better corner 3 shooter.
Oh yeah,
We can all agree that Jordan Poole is below all three of them, though.
yeah.
Like he's fallen out
definitely
of
now.
the tier.
Year before, I put him with, but he just had a bad last year. But I don't blame that
Because he could
entirely
get
on
back
him.
up. He could get back up there this year.
The
Now that he's
Draymond
on a team
stuff.
that wants him there.
That punch in the face, just, I don't know how you have a good season after starting that way. Yeah,
Well, I think we've actually kind of exhausted everything. We're already at like an hour and 15 minutes of waffling
Dude.
on here.
We
Yeah,
thought
I'm
this was
tired.
gonna be a quick one.
So,
I prefer pancakes. Cody.
you know,
No, I don't.
us here on the East Coast, spoiler alert, we're recording this late at night, so, we probably should, you know, get some sleep. So, I think today was a good discussion though. We talked about some rookies, talked about some current teams and what some expectations are, and we're getting some preseason ball, so before you know it, we'll be talking about real regular season action.
Oh, thank God.
Ben
I've
Shepard's
been waiting
underrated
so
pick.
long.
Yeah, we'd be amiss if we didn't have a rookie podcast and did not talk about how Ben Shepherd's going to be the best rookie out of all of them.
He has a like glorious
Beautiful shot.
mustache.
He has a beautiful
Oh, yeah, that too.
jumper.
Ben Shepherd, I will say, last night against the Rockets, Ben Shepherd was absolutely dogging Jalen Green on defense. That's all I'll say.
And on that
Jalen
note, I'll
Green's a
see you
bust.
guys later. Bye bye.
Thank you all for listening.